This is NEC Blitz. We're here with Coach Bobby Rome II, the first coach ever, first football head coach at Chicago State University. Coach, thank you so much for your time and joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so obviously you've only just been announced. It's got to be one of your first interviews kind of doing this and talking about Chicago State football. It's a brand new program. You can have any identity. What are you looking to build here? What do you want people to think of when you think of Chicago State football?
Well, when people think of Chicago State football, I want them to think of a mirror image of the South Side of Chicago. Some tough, resilient, gritty folks who love their community, love their university, and willing to go out and play hard, play good football for it.
And whenever those of us kind of on the periphery of college sports think about, well, if I were building a program, what programs I like the mirror image of. Is there anyone you can point to for us that we can kind of see like, okay, here's a blueprint for how Chicago State might develop?
Well, when I look across the landscape of college football, I love what Michigan does. I love the areas that Michigan recruits as well. We're going to be recruiting the Midwest very hard. Like Michigan, I love what they're doing with their multiple tight end sets. They run the football. They do spread it out sometimes as well. So those are some of the components that we'll be doing as a football program. We'll be using multiple tight ends. We'll be a physical program, but be very disciplined in all three phases of the game.
Yeah, physical tight end sounds like something you'd expect to hear from a former fullback, right? So all kind of tracks for us and something we love up here in the Northeast for sure. And you're not really from this area originally, right? You're
no,
from
I'm not.
Further south. So
yeah,
how do you build those ties getting into new high schools you probably haven't been to too much back in Florida Memorial or Virginia University at Lynchburg?
Well, I've had an opportunity to step in some of those high schools when I was at Central State as a head football coach. But so I do have some ties to the Midwest, very small, but I do have some. I've recruited the state of Indiana, recruited Chicago, definitely recruited the state of Ohio. But I think from the recruiting aspect, I think it's very important that relationships are going to be more important than anything. We're talking about Chicago, a community that those football coaches love their student athletes. They're not just going to hand their student athletes over just to anybody. So I think it's important to form relationships, not just on a transactional level, but actually showing up to their events, showing up to things that's important to that football program that you're going to recruit in that student athlete, and also inviting those coaches over to Chicago State and showing those football coaches what Chicago State has to offer and what we're offering their student athletes, and ultimately turn those coaches into recruiters for you. So that's kind of my overall plan. I want to make sure that I ingratiate myself in the community, ingratiate myself with the high school football in Chicago. And I just want to make sure that I'm out there, I'm present, that people know that Chicago, any event they have, recruiting event, any event they have where, football games, this upcoming season, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to recruit kids from this community as well.
Yeah, and you have a big opportunity to do it. When you think about D1 football in Illinois, there's Evanston, of course, at Northwestern. But for the most part, you're thinking of Champaign, Illinois State, places not really embedded into the Chicago area. So there hasn't been major college football in Chicago in almost a century at this point. Never been a D1 program back in the days of Chicago. Wasn't really the same distinctions we have today. But is there anything you see as like an opportunity to become of that part of that Chicago sports scene? We're talking Bears, Cubs, Cougars. What do you do?
100%. And that's why I said we have to recruit young men with the same DNA that built this community, that built Chicago. I think people here relate to that. And I think, like I said, we're going to recruit young men from right here in this backyard, and we're going to bring in young men from the states beside us as well. We're going to recruit the Midwest. We're not just going to be a AAU team or a neighborhood team. We're going to be, we're going to spread our wings a little bit, but at the same time, it's going to be something that the South Side of Chicago, all of Chicago will come to love, and we're going to embrace being that number one, that only Division I football program in Chicago. We're very proud of that, and like I said, it's nothing but opportunity. And I say it all the time. I say it to my student athletes: opportunities don't go away; they just go to other people. So this is an unbelievable opportunity, not only for our potential stakeholders and people, which is people in our community, but also potential student athletes as well, to be a part of some history making here at Chicago State.
Yeah, definitely big chance for history. Of course, Chicago State on the south side, 230 head coaching candidates. They picked you. Definitely lots of good experience with VUL, of course, and then back at Florida Memorial. You mentioned Central. But Chicago is a different recruiting landscape than the rest of the NEC is going to have. For the most part, you've mentioned Ohio. You'll find, if you haven't yet, Ohio is firmly NEC recruiting territory.
For sure.
But very rare, maybe one or two a year from Indiana, not many from Illinois. How does that kind of work to your advantage building this program?
Well, I feel like, we're tapping into a source of student athletes that the NEC hasn't had an opportunity to see yet. And I think that bodes well for us and what we're doing as far as starting a new program. I mean, it's thousands of student athletes that leave this city every single year to go off the other programs. And my goal is to try to keep some of that talent here in Chicago. I mean, we could be successful right here. Like you could be successful right here in Chicago. And I believe the community in itself will support that student athlete. So the goal is to show people that, man, you can stay home and be successful right here. And I think we're going to do great things in the NEC. I think there's going to be a great partnership for us and our institution. And we're excited about, playing some of the tough competition that the conference has to offer.
Yeah, and it's not that this is what you've planned to do. You've said as much. You're going to hit Midwest, see everywhere. There's only so many places in the United States where you can build a 50-mile fence around your area and be successful. Chicago is one of them. You can have a D1 team with Chicago recruits. But you mentioned recruiting. You're going to try to bring those guys home, keep them home instead of going off to the Indiana schools, other Illinois schools. When you walk into one of those high school players' living rooms, high school classroom, you tell a kid Chicago State's where they ought to play football. I mean, what's your pitch? What do you do to keep them here?
Well, I think the pitch is simple. We're offering an opportunity for a young man to play at home. That's first and foremost in front of his friends and family. We're giving not only him, but we're also giving his family an opportunity to be part of something very special. We're starting a Division I college football program from scratch. That has not been done in the history of any Division I program in Chicago, and it hasn't been done in 100 years in Illinois. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? And it's going to take a very unique young man to be a part of that. And we're going to go out there and find those unique young men. And hopefully those young men, and I know for a fact, those young men are going to come find us. They're going to come find us because of the opportunity that we're providing and the opportunity for development that we're providing holistically. We're talking about educate on the field and off the field. Like we're talking about developing the full man from the top of his head down to the sole of his feet. So that's what we're providing here. And I'm talking about without seeing a helmet, without seeing a shoulder pad. At the very least, you come to Chicago State, you're going to get a great education, and you're going to be mentored by some outstanding young men and some outstanding people that want to see you do great things in life. So that's my pitch to a young man. If I had to step in his living room right now today, and we're talking about just at the bare minimum, you're going to get an outstanding education. You're going to be mentored by people that want to see you succeed. So, like I said, that's without having a helmet or a shoulder pad and without anything there, like bare bones. This is what you have. This is what we have to offer here at Chicago State.
Yeah, and I think you might have just recruited me to play for you, too. That sounds like I think you got a good pitch there, Coach.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
But, you did something similar. You didn't start Florida Memorial's program. You kind of did the next best thing. So what can you take from what you learned there and now apply it to D1 level of Chicago State?
Well, I think, first and foremost, one thing we did, we did an outstanding job kind of branding the football program and showing people, what our niche is going to be. And I believe our niche is going to be development. Right now, we're talking about in the landscape of college football where development isn't a thing right now. You know what I mean? It just isn't a thing right now. Everyone's jumping to the next higher dollar. And the truth is they're sacrificing their all season. They're sacrificing their development to go chase a higher profit somewhere else, and that's fine. Those kids, I wish them the best, but we're looking to develop a student athlete on and off the field, and we feel like with a 4 full years of development, 2 straight years of development here at CSU, we're going to be ready to compete in the NEC. We're going to be ready to compete, and we're going to be able to compete at the highest levels, and that's what we're selling. We're selling full out development, and we're selling the opportunity for guys to go off and play at higher levels. We did that at FMU. And we showed that with our development by having 5 guys play in the HBCU Legacy Bowl. That's more than any other HBCU in the past 2 years. So we produce quality football players at FMU. We're going to do the same here at Chicago State. We're going to home in on development. Like, that's going to be our pitch.
And definitely developing players. Sometimes developing those players and see them get to the next level. Sometimes it's the NFL. The reality is sometimes that seeing your guys go up to the P4 for a year or two.
That's it.
I mean, the transfer portal at the same time can give. You've mentioned, I think, previously that it offers, especially these days, this kind of opportunity where you can be competitive year one building a program if you're able to use that. How do you plan to use the portal for 2026 to build your first?
Well, I think the most important thing about the portal is finding young men first, the low-hanging fruit, young men that want to come back home and that believe that they can be successful here in Chicago and that understand what we're trying to build here in Chicago. I think that's the low-hanging fruit first. Then you step outside of Chicago and hit other places in Illinois, and you hit the surrounding states in Indiana. And I think the pitch has to be like, figure out who wants to come home. That's sometimes that's more valuable than money. That's more valuable than NIL money. Who wants to come home? Because the truth is, everything you need to be successful is right here in Chicago. There's a lot of people like me. There's a lot of people out here that's walked these same streets that's been very successful. So we can get it done here. It hasn't been many in football, not from the Division I level. Let's start that trend here, right here in our own backyard, and let's get it done. There's been so many people that's been benefiting off of our young men here from Chicago, been taking our guys to Michigan, taking our guys to Ohio State, and been very successful. We're going to try to keep that talent here, and we're going to invite that talent back home. So we're going to hit the transfer portal very hard. We're going to bring in young men that value an education here, first and foremost, at Chicago State, that values the opportunity that we're providing here at Chicago State. And that's going to be a darn good football player as well. So, those are the young men that we're looking for. Like I said, we're going to hit it hard. We're going to hit the portal very hard.
And Coach, before we close up here, at first, thank you so much for your time and just your transparency. I really feel like I have a great idea of what Chicago State's going to look like when you guys are taking the field in 2026.
Thank you.
But what's the moment that's going to feel like this is real now? I mean, has it happened already with the introductory press conference? Is it going to be when you see a uniform, when you're stepping out onto the stadium, whatever stadium that may be, opening day?
Well, I think just going through the whole entire process, it makes it feel real. It has the real feeling because we are building something, and every day I come to work and when I sit down with the team that we have, to try to build this thing, everybody's determined to get this thing going. And everybody we talk to are so excited. The people in the community don't let me walk in the store without, telling me how excited they are about Chicago State and the opportunity, that football brings not only to, Chicago State, but to the entire community. They're waiting for this. They're waiting for this to happen. So for me, like I said, I'm glad just to be a part of this. Like I said, I just want to be a part of it. I'm glad to be a part of it. Like I said, it feels real every day I wake up because I know we're going to get it done here.
Okay, Coach, Chicago State's joining the big leagues. Will be in the NEC Division I football coming, I believe, 2026. Coach, thank you so much for your time for joining us today. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having us, and I look forward to following some of your content throughout this upcoming season as well.